Hi, I'm Mary Wong, your registered traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncturist. And I am the founder of Alive Holistic Health Clinic, author of Pathways to Pregnancy, and your wellness and fertility coach. Tonight, I want to welcome you because I am doing my 85th post. And I'm excited to talk to you about thyroid because this is a question I seem to be having every day at our office. And so there's some questions that come up and I want to kind of go through it with you. And I guess before we start, it's like, first of all, what the heck is it? And why is it relevant for fertility? Well, first, if you don't know, it's a gland that sits right around here, right by your windpipe. And some people actually have it enlarged and it can be quite visible. So you can, in fact, feel it for yourself to see if you feel it. You shouldn't. But if you do, then that can be cause for concern. So, well, what does it do? It helps with metabolism, regulates metabolism, and it actually helps the rate of oxygen consumption and heat production at the cellular level. So when it comes to thyroid and cells, it can in fact impact the oxygenation of our cells. And the egg cell is the largest cell, remember? Well, actually, maybe you don't know, but the egg cell is the largest cell in a woman's body. So it's important to have good oxygenation, right? Because that's energy. That's to help it thrive. So we want that. And during pregnancy, it's important to help for fetal growth. And it helps with fetal development. So it's really important for the development of the heart and the brain and all that. Now, it's tied in with the whole endocrine system, which, by the way, controls our reproductive organs. So it is important, kind of like as a web, where if one thing goes off kilter, so if the hypothalamus and the pituitary and your ovaries are off, that can impact your thyroid, and thyroid being off can impact your reproductive function. So much so that sometimes with hyperthyroid, we can have even the decreased ability to ovulate. So if you have regular ovulation, fine, that's probably okay, but you still might want to rule it out, okay? So sometimes some symptoms of ovulation, let's see here. Well, okay, let me just go through. Regular issues can be like you get more tired, you have weight gain, sometimes slower heart rate, easily gets colds, lower libido. So these can raise questions. Now, mind you, sometimes it can be other things that goes with it, right? But you might want to keep that in the back of your head. So sometimes people describe like brain fog, memory loss, what I'm doing right now, digestive issues, more like a sluggish functioning, so tendency for constipation, slower food transit, really, and even like rougher, dry skin, hair loss, that can be a sign about thyroid issue, dry, brittle, like nails and hair, eczema, shortness of breath, what I mentioned earlier, like lower body temperature, goiter is the actual swelling of the thyroid, sometimes even muscle cramping, and as I mentioned earlier, menstrual cycle abnormalities. So if it's actual menstrual cycle abnormalities, that can potentially impede getting pregnant in of itself. But if your thyroid is a little off, then it may also impact, like I said, the ability to stay pregnant. So it may be an easy solution for those that have had miscarriage in the past. So what do? So the normal test through a family practitioner, a GP, would be just to test the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, which actually is secreted by the pituitary gland. And as I mentioned, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and ovaries, they connect, right? So if the level of pituitary is impacted with regards to the thyroid stimulating hormone, it's going to impact the way it's going to produce the thyroid hormones, like in terms of T4, which needs to be converted to T3 in the cells, the target cells. So that cascade of hormones can go off. And so I say it's probably better to test not just the TSH, which is the standard test, thyroid stimulating hormone, but you may want to ask your doctor to check the total T4, free T3, and free T4, and then even anti-thyroid antibodies. So you might want to write this down. Now, the trick is if you're in Canada, if you're in Toronto, Ontario, rather, the TSH is normally covered by the province, but the others will cost money. Sometimes T4, you can squeeze it in there, but the other panel is typically you would have to pay for, unless you're under the care of an endocrinologist. So if you're already under a care of an endocrinologist, you could probably ask for that. And then if you're under the care of a fertility doctor, you might want to ask for that as well. And otherwise, I would say a better bet is going through like a naturopathic doctor who does have rights in terms of ordering blood tests, which is good. Unfortunately, at least in Canada, I don't think we're allowed, well, I know we're not allowed to order blood tests, but in the United States, I'm not sure, but I think some states are able to order these kinds of tests. So if you can get that, that would be freaking awesome. And either way, I have a feeling that you might have to pay out of pocket, but really it's worth it. So I would check that out. And at the very least, if you check the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, what you want to see is the normal range value, by the way, for like any lab results, they post it, right? And the normal range for a normal person is different than a person that actually wants to get pregnant and that is pregnant. Reason being is when you're trying to conceive, you want to be proactive and have the thyroid stimulating hormone lower than normal range. And in fact, there are studies out there, and I do cite it in my book, Pathways to Pregnancy. And so there are a couple of studies where it shows that women that have value that is more than 2.5 milli, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. Milli international units per liter of blood, right? Anyway, you don't need to know that part. Just know it's 2.5 or more. That is not good. And what you want is under 2.5. And some clinics, in fact, will want you to get under 2. And what that means is then your thyroid is not overfiring. It's not working on overdrive, because if it's working on overdrive, you're going to have a sluggish functioning thyroid. And so it's important to have it on the lower end, because as soon as you become pregnant, it draws and drains your thyroid more. It places more demands, because earlier, as I said, one of the function is it helps fetal development. So the preparation of creating a new life places more demands. So with that, then you want it lower so that as soon as you get pregnant, it's automatic, it's normal for the TSH to elevate more. So what you don't want happening is that your rate is normal, but as soon as you're pregnant, it goes wacky out of normal range, right? So you'd rather have it below the normal range so that when you get pregnant, it's going to be in the normal range. Does that make sense? I hope so. And so the next question is, well, if it's slightly off, what should I do? Well, if you're at a fertility clinic, they're going to tell you to take a low dose thyroxine or levothyroxine Synthroid, which is, yes, it's pharmaceutically produced. So for those naturalists out there, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be taking any drugs. But here's a question I pose to you. When did you want to get pregnant? Well, typically the people that we see at our clinic, they want to be pregnant yesterday. And if that's the case, then you're in a place of, gosh, I don't want to take too much time trying to do it naturally. Because yes, there is an opportunity to try to level out your thyroid hormone more naturally, TSH, with like desiccated thyroid. That's natural. However, our finding is that it takes longer. And unfortunately, longer is not typically what we have, right? But if you're in that camp where you're like, you know what? I'm just totally not comfortable with doing the Synthroid, then fine, totally go for it. Go to a naturopathic doctor, do a desiccated thyroid, or go to a natural MD that can guide you through it. But it will take months, I will tell you that. If you're using a pharmaceutical grade thyroid, then what typically happens is it actually gets leveled out very quickly. And if it's not the right dose, they'll adjust it. And again, very quickly, your body will respond. So that's why I say it. So again, even though I'm totally in for natural medicine, when you're trying to conceive and there's like no time to waste, I say, give yourself permission and say, it's okay. I can take this right now. And it is temporary. And so what does temporary mean? Typically what that means, oh, by the way, remember, we're wanting it to go just below the normal range. So when it's just below the normal range, it's a subclinical dose. So a subclinical dose is not very much, right? So 50 micrograms is basically like what I call a subtherapeutic dose. So it's not bad. Uh-oh, I hope I'm still with you guys here because I don't see you. Oh dear. Okay. Are we still going live? Sorry, I'm just checking. Okay, good. Anyway, so subclinical dose is not going to impact you negatively. If anything, sometimes people say, oh, gee, I'm feeling a little bit more energetic. I think I'm losing a little bit of weight, something like that. And what happens is you'll take it. When you get pregnant, they'll monitor it. And in fact, if they don't, because unfortunately, fertility clinics or your GPs, they forget. So you have to be your own self-advocate and you say, hey, how about we check our hormones again if they forget, right? You don't tell them off. You just kindly say it in a nice way so that they'll like you still and take care of you. But you say, hey, it's been like 4 weeks. Maybe we could check it just in case it's off balance. And when you're pregnant, you want to be checking it every 4, 6, or 8 weeks, depending on where you're at in the spectrum, right? And so you want to do that for sure. You go in, like I personally, just so you know, a person who hates to do anything with drugs, and in the end, those who you don't, if you don't know me, I did end up doing IVF because I had to. I had blocked fallopian tubes, but I also had subclinical thyroid issue, and I did have this questioning. It's like, crap, I'm already surrendering to IVF drugs. Do I really want to be doing this? And yes, absolutely, I had to surrender to Synthroid, and it was at a micro dose. And what happens is even when you get pregnant, you do stay on it because, like I said, it's going to create more of a demand on your thyroid. So typically what occurs is that you will be taking it through the duration of your pregnancy and even postpartum, because postpartum, your body is also in that low mood, low place, and nutritionally in all ways, because giving birth, in Chinese medicine, we say that it really takes our energy out. So it's actually safe to also take it postpartum for like 3 or 4 months, and then you don't have to take it anymore. Unless, of course, there's an actual thyroid issue, which again, if you're within the normal parameters, you probably don't need it anyway as a normal human being. Just when you're trying to conceive and during conception and just a little bit postpartum. So I hope that served you. I don't think, did I see any comments? Okay, cool. No. So I hope that was very helpful. And I can go into that kind of stuff way more in detail. Like really, we could do like a full course, a day course on it. But the one thing I don't want you to do is start Googling yourself to death about thyroid, because that'll just cause more concern for you and probably some heartache and worries and fears and all that. So just keep it simple, and you can find resources that are more reliable, but don't go on chat lines and asking people advice, because everyone's an individual. So you do need to go to a professional if that's the case. So like I said, naturopathic doctor. If you're in the States, you can see a TCM practitioner that might be able to order blood tests. In Canada, again, as I said, you can't, but then you'll go to your GP, which oftentimes, just so you know, they don't really know the actual rate for when someone is trying to conceive. They're not fertility specialists, so don't expect them to know everything about fertility unless they themselves went through fertility issues. Okay, so go to a fertility doctor, endocrinologist, reproductive endocrinologist, naturopathic doctor that knows fertility, TCM doctor that knows fertility. There you have it, and I hope that serves you. Before we close off, I just want to acknowledge those of you that came on to my Facebook, sorry, not Facebook. Oh my gosh, I've been doing this too long. So it was a live monthly fertility circle that I just did 2 Sundays ago. It was really awesome. And I've been getting more and more feedback about how helpful it was. And one person in particular, she cracked me up because she's actually also a patient of mine. And she thought, you know, she would just be supportive and just watch because, you know, she wanted to be kind and nice because she thought going in that she would not get anything out of it. And what was so cool and awesome was that I got a response immediately after and says, oh my gosh, this was the best thing ever. I really needed it. And wow, it's so much different and so much more in depth than I could do at a clinic, right? Because I'm doing acupuncture. So it's like coaching at a whole new level and in the dynamic where there is community. And what another person told me is like, yeah, you know what? I was able to sit down with my cup of tea. I'm a very private person. So really, you know, those support groups are really not for me. So this was so awesome because it felt like you were with me and I was not alone. And it was so much great information and it made me feel so much better and hopeful. So I'm so thrilled because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And so now I'm so thrilled to be able to do this and, you know, help you on another level. So if you haven't joined the group, please do so. And right now we actually have a coupon. So till my next monthly live, which is June 3rd on a Sunday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be coaching you and then answering some Q&A, providing you some exercise. This one's going to be more of an energizing exercise because we're going to talk about energy this time, and it'll be awesome. So I can't wait for you guys to be there. And you can go on my website marywong.life, and then it'll throw you to another link to hook up onto it. And just so you know, it's totally not ready, right? The website is not ready, but I am. So who cares? That's what matters. That's what counts. And, you know, I'm here to serve you. So get on. And right now, like I said, there's a promo for $4.99 US. So do that before the time runs out. And what's cool about that is for that amount of money, you're getting another post that I just did. So you'll get that recording that I just did. And you'll also be able to sign into the live monthly fertility circle when I do it in June 3rd, and you'll be part of the subscription. So when when it'll renew automatically, and that'll be $29.99 US. And for those again that knows me, you know that it's like freaking crazy deal because to come and see me, it's a lot more. One-on-one is a lot more. So this is in a group setting, so I'm able to offset some expenses. So anyway, and if for whatever reason, oh, right, by the way, and I'm in the process of but making an audio version of my book. So for those that are part of that membership, you'll get a copy of the audiobook. But otherwise, you can always pick up my book, Pathways to Pregnancy, on any Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo chapters in Canada. So I hope that serves you. I hope you got something out of the thyroid. And you know what? If you have suggestions for posts, my live posts, please email me at mw@aliveholistichealth.ca. That's mw@aliveholistichealth.ca. And looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks. Have a great night. Bye for now.